As I said, Jordan is going to be interviewing and going to a town in Virginia, a community that they're fighting to stop a compressor station from being put into their town, and with really good reason. Like I said, we fought the National Fuel Pipeline here in New York last year, and we stopped it. We went to multiple hearings, and at those hearings, the most moving and just sad part of each hearing was when we would be listening to people who were suffering from cancer or sicknesses, or people whose loved ones or friends had died from cancer or sicknesses. And this was just from the compressor stations themselves. So we're not talking about when the pipelines explode or they leak. And we're talking about natural gas. So benzene pollution from the compressor stations, and there's a lot more of pollutants, other than just benzene that comes out of these compressor stations, but benzene in particular causes a rare form of leukemia that is quite fatal. And I sat there and I listened to a man who had lost his wife. I listened to a nurse from Roswell Park Cancer Institute in Buffalo speak about children and elderly people that were coming in who lived around the compressor station who had cancer. So again, our country is poisoning its people, and it's all about the almighty dollar. So what is a compressor station? Compressor stations are needed on average every 40 to 100 miles along pipelines to repressurize natural gas and keep it moving long distances. They're huge. They're absolutely huge, and they're super loud, but that is the smallest of the problems. Compressor stations release huge amounts of toxins. These toxins include benzene, toluene, sulfuric oxide, and formaldehyde. Citizens within 1,500 feet of the compressor stations will be definitely affected by these toxins, and it could reach much farther than that. Curtis Nordegard, MD, stated that the compressor stations release, and this is a doctor who works at Boston's Children's Hospital, so he has seen firsthand also the effects of these compressor stations on children. And our president has such a soft spot for children, and that's why he's pushing so hard for oil and gas and fossil fuels, right? No, it's all bullshit. It's all lies. So this Dr. Curtis Norgard of the Boston's Children's Hospital says that the compressor stations release particulate matter that causes asthma, heart attacks, diabetes, which he sees every day from people living around that area, benzene, which causes leukemia, bone marrow suppression, formaldehyde, which causes asthma and several types of cancer, nitrogen oxide, which produces hazardous ground ozone, and asthma triggers associated with respiratory tract irritation and infection. Benzene levels have been measured near compression stations that are far exceeding cancer-causing thresholds, and the Department of Health, again and again, in every single town that I've looked into, knows about this, and they do nothing about it. The Department of Health, a lot of the pollution laws are waived when it comes to these compressor stations. Formaldehyde levels can exceed cancer-causing thresholds up to at least half a mile away from compressor stations. So here is a resident who lived by the compressor station in Texas, and you're going to hear more of this live. Actually, no, wait. Jordan's interviewing people who are fighting the compressor stations, so they haven't been affected by it yet, so that's great. But this is someone who has been affected by it, Charles E. Morgan in Texas. I have suffered brain damage, heart damage, ruptured eardrum twice, and now have a permanent hole in my eardrum and suffer from restless leg syndrome. I lived in my home 21 years in near perfect health before the compressor station came. It is 0.9 miles from our home. Our neighbors are suffering, also including ruptured eardrums, vertigo, restless leg syndrome, incontinence in young women. Men can become sterile also and suffer sexual dysfunction. All of these symptoms are of vibroacoustic disease caused by the compressor station, the noise coming from the compressor station. This is just because of the incredible noise and that power, the vibration that the compressor stations put out. We have several people who have died recently from brain aneurysms and heart attacks. All of them had LFN at their homes. To have a compressor station within 20 feet of a home is absolutely absurd. It will be uninhabitable. Our home here is within 500 feet of the compressor station near me, and on the opposite side has sold 4 times and now is owned again by the compressor station owner. It is uninhabitable. A typical compressor station releases 46.2 tons of nitrous oxide per year, which is an anesthetic for dental surgeries. Nitrous oxide can cause numbness, mental impairment. It has a sticky sweet smell, and that is the one thing that I heard time and time again when I was at the hearings, is that you could smell it, that everyone who came up says you can smell that sweet smell coming from the compressor station. So these things are putting out these toxins on a regular basis, to the point where a lot of residents say they can taste it. And sometimes if it gets too intense, they have to bring their children in. Their children are outside playing on certain days. They'll say it's too strong. They will bring their children in. And the sad thing is, how safe do you think the kids are in their houses as compared to being on their front lawn? It's in the air. And no one's going to move in. So these people can't sell their houses because no one's going to buy it then. When the compressor station is built there, they're stuck there. No one will buy that property. They have nowhere to go.